this is Daphne Quay, your Boss Lady Realtor here in Central Texas. And today, I've decided to do a video where we break down what it is like living in Austin, Texas with an income of $250,000 a year. You ready to find out what that's gonna look like? Yeah. Okay, let's go. Before we get started, make sure to gently click the subscribe button and click the notification button so you get notified every time I do videos like this one. I do videos all the time on different neighborhoods in Central Austin. I do investment tips. Sometimes I tell stories about my experience in real estate because I want you to be informed. And if you want to be informed and you want to keep learning, make sure to subscribe and click the notification button. And please like my video. I decided to do this video because I have a lot of clients that come from both the East and the West Coast that are significant earners. However, they live in cities that are like uber expensive, and I feel like a lot of times the quality of life isn't as good as it could be considering that somebody's making a pretty good income. So for the purposes of this video, I assumed that this would be for a dual income household. And if it's not for a dual income household and it's one person bringing in $250, that's awesome. But for this reason, let's just say it's a couple, each person makes $125 a year. The first point I wanna bring up is taxes in general. Somebody living on either coast is gonna be used to paying high taxes. California taxes are super high. I know like in New York and like the East Coast, taxes are also super high. However, in Central Texas, we don't have income tax, which is humongous. Assuming that on paper you bring in $250,000 after taxes in Texas, you'll be taking home closer to about $155 or so. Side note and a real life example, I heard about a friend of a friend who lives in California who brings in $1.2 million a year. And because taxes are so stinking high, in 2019, he paid $700,000 in taxes. That's more than half of his income. I mean, I'm sure he was doing something else to require that high of a tax bracket, but what? That's less than half. Anyway, we're gonna move on. Personally, I think that your housing expenses shouldn't be any more than about 30% of your income. People have different schools of thought about this, and that's fine. At the end of the day, it comes down to what the bank or the lenders are going to allow you to have. Let me back up and explain something. When a bank or a lender is looking at you as a buyer, they're gonna look at your income and debt, and they're going to come up with something called your debt to income ratio. They basically wanna make sure that once you have a mortgage, that your debt and like income balance are fairly balanced so that you could still technically afford this house. Makes sense, right? Debt to income ratio, we call it DTI, stands for debt to income ratio. Banks will allow you to have about 45% of your income go towards your housing costs, depending on the kind of loan. There's also another kind of loan where you can have up to like 55% of your income go to housing. And then I heard that there's another kind of loan that you can go up to like 60 or 65% of your income towards your housing, which honestly seems like that's a lot. That's super a lot. However, it does depend a lot on each borrower and what the situation might be, what the debt looks like, what assets you have, savings, and so on. But I honestly think that that's a whole other thing for another video. But if you have questions about lending and what like debt to income and all of that is and how that works, leave a comment. It's not particularly complicated, it's just very detail oriented, and I honestly love talking about this stuff. So if you wanna know, I'll tell you. Okay, so let's circle back around to my original statement of your housing expenses being about 30% of your income, which in this scenario would be about $6,250 a month, right? $6,250 a month. So based on some rough calculations that we did, that should be able to afford you a home that's just under the 1.2 million range. So in Central Texas, if you are making $250,000 a year, you can afford $1 million home. And unlike either coast, way east or way west, $1 million home actually like looks and feels like $1 million home. And of course, it's gonna depend a little bit on the part of Austin if you're buying something in Austin, but generally speaking, you can get something that's awesome and not a little shack that's falling apart. I'm also a really big believer in saving money and investing money quickly. I think it's important to save about 30% at least of your take home after taxes. So that should put you right around $3,800 a month, or roughly $46,000 a year, at least. So let's say you're following the rule of spending 30% of your income on housing, 30% in savings, and you still got a pretty hefty chunk of money left for lifestyle stuff. Based again off some loose calculations that we did, that should be about $2,800 a month. Now, living in Austin or living in the Central Texas area in general is a lot less expensive than being on either coast. Generally speaking, if you go downtown, parking isn't an issue. We get a lot of our produce from Mexico, which is only 4 hours away. So groceries and produce tend to be a lot more affordable than other parts of the country. So this is probably one of the shorter videos that I've done. But the reason I wanted to do this is to show you that if you're bringing in a fairly significant income, you can live a really high quality lifestyle in Austin or in Central Texas. Austin, of course, is growing and home values are rising. However, there's other neighborhoods in other areas like San Antonio where you can get so much bang for your buck and you can have just an absolutely wonderful quality of life and literally live like royalty. So that's what I got. Those are my thoughts on what it is like living on $250,000 a year in Central Texas. So if you're curious about Central Texas real estate, if you're thinking of buying or selling, make sure to reach out. You can reach me via text, email, you can call me, Instagram, DM, whatever works for you. If you're thinking about relocating or selling in the Central Texas area, I got you. Thanks so much. Till next time.